I'm retro. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. Yeah, it's lit in the chop shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based to debate, but they keep it facts straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take. On Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Claude Ray, Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal. To the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket. Put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, you see me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the chop shop, cause they cutting up. It's retro, coming to you live to the chop shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the chop shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the chop shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. But we're broadcasting all over the world via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. It's good money. We had a crazy weekend. A lot of stuff going on, and we're gonna update to you. And I just, I got to just, Jimmy, I have to, I know when subjects like this happen, I always have to just start the show with a quick prayer. And it's, Lord, today arrest the apathetic, indict the outside agitators, convict corrupt cops, protect entrepreneurs, embolden the activists, and speak peace to the protesters. In the name of Jesus, amen. Jimmy, I had to get that cross because, Jimmy, let me tell you something. I saw some things that over the weekend that I thought I'd never see. I saw a police chief, Madera Arredondo, the police chief in Minnesota. He said some things that I just never heard a police chief say. He said these guys were guilty, and the other guys were complicit in it. They should be charged also. I've never heard that. And Jimmy, Sarah, I don't know her name. She did an interview with him, and they were in tears. But she, every time he mentioned George Floyd's family, he took off his hat in respect. Every time he talked to the family, talked to the brother. So Jimmy, it was just, certain things, sometimes we just always look for the bad. Sometimes, Jimmy, and before we go any further, I wanna read a point. Somebody sent me this morning, and I know it's crazy. They said, wake up, and this is how we're gonna start today. They said, wake up and feel great about yourself. Yes, we are all outraged, but through it all, this BS, we still have to nurture our own roots so that we too don't grow to be thorns and wild weeds. You're alive, live it to the fullest, because you never know how your day will end. Tell your loved ones to you love them. Hug your kids tightly. Let them know they are genuinely loved. Got that message this morning, and I just wanted to share that with everybody in this dire times. Love the people. They love your people, man. That's all, because we don't know how long we're going to have them. So, Jimmy, we got special guests today. This is a special show today. We got special guests, and let's get on with the show. What you got?
Yeah, man, this is going to be a great show today on the Chop Shop. And so I understand a lot of times the purpose, the mission, the why is once again, we will attempt to ignite the conversation and apply solutions or possible solutions, which some of you guys may be able to implement into your lives, your communities, and your surroundings, friends, families, and whatnot. And it's you got to realize, and I say this, look, I pin this cliche, and this might be my most, the most popular one, the one that has legs, because it applies almost to every doggone situation. When I say all eggs don't hatch on the same day. And you think about it, that means for some people, their egg may have hatched in 1964. Some people, their eggs may have hatched after they saw roots in 77 or whatnot. Other people, eggs may have hatched during the 80s or the 90s or the two. Understand my point. At some point, different people you guys have a different amount of water in your toleration, your pot. At some point, your water may boil. My pot may be one of those small ones. Your pot may be the one you make spaghetti in or greens. It's going to take a little longer for that pot, for the water to start to come to a boil in that pot. So at the same time, once that water starts to boil, then now, nobody can touch that water. You see, unless you allow them and give them a disclaimer of getting in there. So this is where we at right now. We want to try to, once again, sure you guys saw a lot of the videos online. Sure you guys saw and you understand narratives. And the thing is, before we come into something like this moment, there may be different ways that you may have thought and looked at certain things. And the person is, if you are Black out there, and because understand, a lot of brown people we may have given them too much credit it's a blanket statement, thinking that they're supposed to understand. Some things we just won't understand about them unless we are totally undivided with our hearts with compassion. And there's some things about us that people just won't understand because they took us for granted and they just really thought that we were over certain things. And some people may be, some people may not. So hopefully, because remember, what are you going to do about it? Is the underlying question. That's the magic question. What are you going to do about it?
And Jimmy, wow, I cannot believe I've been talking all this time and I've been on mute. Thank you, Alex Pugh. Thank you, everybody. But Jimmy, I'm gonna. So they probably didn't even hear. I don't know where you start hearing me at. But I want to say we mainly talk about sports on this show. Okay, and don't think we're silent on this crisis of police brutality and racism against black people. We stand with the protesters. It's a shame that they have to do so much for so little justice, but sometimes you have to get people's attention. And I talked about the police chief earlier. He said silence was complicit. If you did nothing, if you was there, you were complicit. And I talked about, and it gets me every time he mentioned the Floyd family. Jimmy took his shirt off. But the challenge is defined. Jimmy, let me tell you something. Minnesota has become a fuse for the nation. Jimmy, you had a young college athlete that I happened to meet, and he played for Harvard, young guy, because my son played for Cornell, Seth Towns. He played for Harvard, finished his 4 years from Harvard, but he had a injury eligibility a year. And Jimmy, he's back. He's in Columbus, Ohio. He's going to go to Ohio State. And Jimmy, he came up and stood. Malcolm Brogdon came up and stood. Jaylen Brown drove 15 miles or 15 hours from Boston to Atlanta to be in his whole hometown. I mean, and Jimmy, I keep thinking about Frederick Douglass, and he said, power concedes nothing without a demand. And let me tell you something, Jimmy. It was, I thought it was a lot of great things happened this weekend, and something about this one, you know, I guess you know how we said don't happen when it don't hurt you till it happened close to home. Yeah, well then it hit close to home. Steve Jackson, his emotional plea, that hit close to home. But then I saw a press conference, and a young man who was on my my AAU team, my summer basketball team, my grassroots basketball team, Brandon Williams, we call him Woo. He at the press conference. That's his uncle. So yes, it's hidden close to me, but guess what? I want to stop this stuff. Y'all got to realize, Jim and I are black men. I promise you. And we blessed enough to drive nice vehicles. And every time I see a light, Jimmy, grown man, Jimmy, but when I see that light, Jimmy, it's a certain nervousness and a certain anxiety come on me because I don't know who this particular officer is and how he gonna be. So I have empathy, man. Y'all just don't understand, man, the feelings. But what I want to do with this opportunity, Jimmy, and I'm seeing certain things, and later on in the show, I'm seeing, because we've been telling Jimmy, ever since this show been in conception, we've been talking about the power of voting. Jimmy, let me tell you something, and y'all help me, boom, boom, room. And I got a few friends of mine, right, who didn't vote. Talking all that about, it's the lesser of two evils, man. I'm not voting for her. I'm not voting for him. Them clowns. But they always they always running their mouth about stuff on social media. Y'all got to help me with it, because God, let me tell you something. One of y'all or somebody was praying for me because I stopped, because I was finna tweet and get right dead in their behind. But I said, this not the time for it, Robert. I was the bigger man, but then Steve Jackson said, man, I'm tired of being the bigger man all the time. But y'all got to help me with these people that didn't vote, black people, friends of mine, but they always got something to say about your post. When you post something, they always got something to say. I just want to know, how do y'all handle those kind of people? I need your help today. You know, I've been giving out a lot of help over the years. Hey, I need y'all help today, because let me tell you something. I almost went there, but we got bigger fish to fry today, Jimmy. But I just needed that help. I needed a little bit of that help today. But Jimmy, I mean, it's just, I sit back and I thought about how we straighten this problem out. Jimmy, you notice the DA who came out and announced the charges. I didn't like him when he came out. I don't even know his name. I forgot his name. I got it written down. The DA who announced the talking about, I don't want to be arrested judges. I don't want to be like a Freddie Gray situation. I want to, like that. Knew it was some stuff with him. And guess what? The governor put him out the way, said, oh, homeboy, you sit this one out. I'm going to bring Keith Ellison in, the attorney general. We're going to let, in other words, the prosecutor, you out. The attorney general is going to handle this case. And the attorney general happened to be Keith Ellison, African-American man. So let's see how this thing work out, man. But Jimmy, I want to reiterate, we constantly worried about 45, and we constantly worried about Congress. But the people that affect our police the most, Tamika, Jock, Michael Jordan, the elected officials that affect our police the most are our local and our state people. See how the governor came in? See, we keep worrying about the president and all that kind of stuff. Our state and local government, y'all, has to be addressed. We got to find out who our prosecutor is and who she is. You notice I said she. Who our attorney general is in this great state of Texas. We have to pay a lot, because this is where we live. So we got to pay a lot more attention to our down ballot voting. When it's not the presidency, let's pay more attention to our local voting. I had to say that because we always up in a roar and talking about voting don't count. Yes, it does. Let me tell you something, Jimmy. If it don't matter, why they trying to take it from you? Jimmy, they are not trying to hijack you for your hoopty. If your car is of no value, they ain't trying to hijack that. Voting is important to all the people who think it don't matter, or the economics and all that. It matters. They wouldn't try to take nothing from you unless it's of value. Voter suppression is rampant right now, y'all. We got 2 primaries in Georgia and Philadelphia that's coming up in 2 weeks. Let me repeat that. We got 2 primaries in Georgia. Georgia is where Aubrey got killed, murdered. Philadelphia in 2 weeks. Get your people up there. Let's get them mobilized. And hey, Jimmy, you so eloquent came and said, man, look what happened in Ferguson. Yes. Ferguson voted them other people out and voted some people in. But that's why you can never come out your mouth, Gail, Bowden. Nobody's mouth, voting don't matter. It does matter, but you got to be strategic and you got to have your agenda. If y'all ain't got no agenda, how you expect for something to happen? But let's go, Jimmy. I just wanted to share that with y'all because we got to have solutions for this thing. We just can't keep whining about it. We got to stop. Jimmy, all I think about this, and if you remember this, I said this the other day. If these guys don't have no consequences to their actions, that dude sit there and put his foot on that man's neck, his knee on that man's neck, like ain't nothing gonna happen to me. Didn't nothing happen to the dude that shot. Dude, Jimmy, hold on. I done had 16 citations against me. I shot a man 16 times. This Calvin, whatever his name, Derek Calvin. I've shot a man 16 times, killed him. I was in a high-speed police chase, Jimmy Hicks, that resulted in 3 people dying. I had lots of misconduct. I killed a Native American guy. This dude got 16 citations against him. But he's still on the police force. Those the kind of things that your state and local government can control, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Jimmy, I'm good, man. I had to get that off.
So now, once again, we can have all of the conversations that we want. But as I noted, and I learned from my mom, who was a school teacher, for 37 years. And that is, you can teach all day, but if the students aren't motivated, aren't willing to learn, then some of your teachings may fall on deaf ears. Same applies to the clergy or in the realm of the church. They can preach all day, but if you're in the congregation and you're not willing to receive that message, that's why a lot of times when you go to church, a lot of the young people may not know, there's a reason that they do what they call, especially in the Protestant climate, they do what they call song and praise and worship. It's the reason that you have praise and worship, as is to get everybody, to get you into, to motivate you to get to in a more receptive state to hear that message, to apply a solution when your life when you're up on leaving. It is. I always wonder why we got to go to church. The preacher don't preach to 1 o'clock, 12:50, mama, or 11:50. Why we got to go at
Jimmy,
at
we call it being ushered into his presence with song and praise. God like praise. Okay.
What I mean,
I know you put it in your words. I'm just putting you in our words. You know, that's why I started laughing. You're just being ushered in his presence.
I'm describing what it is, and that's basically what the purpose of it is.
Yeah. And Jimmy, and it should start in the parking lot. You should. No, I'm just telling you.
Well, I mean, that's
because guess what? That sets your tone. That's all I'm saying for worship. That's all. Well, I mean, you're talking about something that a passionate subject of mine. But keep on going. Let's get your point across.
I mean, and that's the thing. I'm trying to get the point across for people, and that is applying solutions. And that is, once again, I asked a while ago, what are you going to do about it? This over the past week, me personally, my feelings all over the place with this stuff because, and I have numerous people that called, had college coaches to call, black and white, and then and people call, hey man, what, you okay? You okay? And it's like, well, I said, why you ask me that? Well, man, I know you've been kind of militant in your days. And I say, well, you have to understand like this. There are enough out there. I'm going to still fight and I'll help apply solutions and help manifest solutions. But at the same time, there are other young people out here that can go and put on their boxing gloves and box and fight the good fight as well. In other words, so it's like you don't feel like you all fought out, but your arms tied from swinging all of the years and fought to get in and get us into a better state. My thing right now is the conversations with, if you're black, conversations with white people. What are you guys talking with your white friends or white allies? And here's why this is most important right now. A lot of them, I've talked with some that was candid over the weekend. And a lot of them guys really they are reluctant. They don't know exactly what we're feeling or how. They know what we feel, they don't know how we're feeling. A lot of them are confused because even though y'all may be allies, who knows? When they go home inside their house, they may be watching one. Just say, for example, if you're watching CNN all day and they're watching Fox all day, if you're listening to Joe Madison all morning, they're listening to Rush Limbaugh all morning. They're confused as far as to what you really could be feeling. So that means now, but if they're concerned about you and they're concerned about your healing process, then they may have the capacity to be motivated to help around their immediate surroundings. This is what I mean. What I mean by that is we're going to be joined shortly, and we have two guests today. The latter guest is going to come in the second hour on the back nine, and he's a popular judge in the city of Houston. Former NBA player, beloved on the school board in the Galena Park ISD, and that would be Judge Joe Stevens. We expect him to be joined by us. He's traveling right now, so we got to get on down the road, and we'll talk. That's going to be on the back nine. And
Jimmy,
you guys know,
Jimmy,
Judge,
before you announce our guest is coming on now, you just said some, and I got some that will back up what you just said. I got a video, a little short video that's gonna back up exactly what you just said. But right before you announce the guest, I want to play this. So keep going. Let me know.
And I mentioned Joe's coming on the back nine.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to join us, and he has a lot to say. His water is boiling, as I mentioned earlier in the analogy. If your water is not boiling, that's okay. Right now, it's about understanding solutions. We're not trying to get you to get your water. Everybody can't operate the same if their water is boiling. If your pot is hot, everybody can't. Some people do illogical, irrational things if their water is boiling. Some people, so we get to that. But once again, as we get into our guests, because we want to have the conversation, the conversation. That's how we address this thing today. THE, conversation again. And hopefully, here's the thing. White people will be reluctant to engage in conversation if all you plan to do is attack them at every corner of them trying to tell you if you really want to know how they're feeling or why they don't understand or why they feel certain kind of types of way. And they tell you the truth. Then you can't lash back at them. You have to realize, okay, and then you have to. That's healthy. And likewise, if white people, they already understand that we're volatile right now. So as we get in our first guest.
Yeah. And Jimmy, I never thought I'd be using this young lady as an example, but I just want careful, check these words out before we introduce our guest. She was talking, it was Rihanna, was talking about her white friends. If you know, and your white friends, and she said, tell them to pull up, and right on key, Jimmy called one of his friends, and Jimmy, I'll let you pull him up.
and as we do, and once again, this is the way that there's many solutions, but right now the conversation, because otherwise we get into too much hearsay, and we thinking that one person on one news or one broadcast or one caller or one poster on social media speaks for everybody. There are some friends that you guys have, you already know what side of the fence they stand on. You already know. I'm talking black folk that has white friends. You already know what time it was. And now you expect them to come out and publicly give a statement and publicly cry and boo on the side of you. Some of you guys know that how your bosses may have felt or what side of the fence. They've shown you. They don't have to tell you. And then now you want, understand. So this is the thing they want to get to. We got to stop.
Pull up.
And so with on cue, we have with us, we have a former college coach. He was in politics and ran for the school board, attempted to make that change, apply his own solution into the equation. Then pencil and authored a book. Guess what the name of the book was, guys? Recovering Racists. And that is Houston's own from Kincaid High School, Peter Sweatman. Pete, what's going on? Welcome to the Chop Shop, bro.
What up, Pete? Pete, you on mute. You did the Robert Hatter. Take your mute off.
You're on mute.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
Now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the Chop Shop, Pete. We just jumped right into it, man. We don't want. What I'm trying not to do is I don't want to sit here and play fingers and pity pat with this whole conversation because most people watching right now are grown folk. And let's just dive right into it. And right now, tell us about you, about a little bit about yourself, that and about the book Recovering Racist, and what qualifies you, in your opinion, to engage in this conversation.
Well, I think we all need to, whether we're qualified or not, especially if we're listening in addition to just talking. And I want to go back to something you said a minute ago, because what you were alluding to was tone policing. And I have no problem with black people policing other black people's tones. I do want to say, however, to any white people listening, that, because I see a lot of that with Bishop Talbert Swan and many other black people who are fighting for racial justice on social media. And I see a lot of white people say, essentially, you'll catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. And I used to feel that way myself to a certain extent. But what I've come to understand is that if the goal is to persuade a white person, then yes, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. But that's not always the goal. And it shouldn't always be the goal. And there's a lot of black leaders out there who aren't trying to persuade white people. They're trying to energize and inspire and unite black people. And so I just wanted to point that out on the topic of tone policing, that we as white folks need to knock that off. We need to stop trying to police the tone of black people, while again reiterating, I don't have any problem whatsoever with black people policing each other's tones, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I feel miserable for Floyd. Nobody called him George. That's why when I first saw the news, I didn't make the connection. It hurt anyway, but it hurt more, knowing it was someone that we hooped with. And I'm not going to say I was super close to him, but it hurt worse with the Houston connection to basketball. We played summer ball together. The whole thing just sucks.
And you're speaking of summer basketball together. Explain to the audience where you guys did play on the team together a couple of decades ago. Explain that experience.
Summer of '92 at Fonde. And John Urey ran a summer league for high school hoopers at that time at Fonde. What a great summer that was. Did you guys know him as well? I mean, he was really good.
I didn't know him.
I didn't.
I didn't know him.
He was he loved to play. He was, never saw him without a smile on his face. Very unselfish teammate, defended, gave up the ball when he was doubled, which he always was, because again, he was good. He was hands down the best player on our team. It sucks. The whole thing sucks.
So let's get into it.
I want to know what made you write your book before Jimmy go there, because he mentioned that you did. What made you write a book, and that was a unique title, and tell us what made you write the book.
Well, one, I call it Recovering Racist, not Recovered Racist, because I still think I am a racist. Mm-hmm. I think that virtually all 99.99999% of American white people are. There's just a scale, like all human attributes. And so a lot of times someone says racist and we think Hitler and Bull Connor. Mm-hmm. But that's truly is, 1% of racist. But then you got a whole lot of people who feel all certain kind of different ways on a scale. It's the same thing again with any human attribute. I'm a Rockets fan, right? At like a 5 on a 10-point scale. I like the Rockets. They're my favorite NBA team. I'm not really living and dying by what the Rockets do. Whereas like Moneyball Alex, he's like a 9.5, so we're both Rockets fans. He's just more of a Rockets fan than I am. And we don't take scale into consideration, right? We jump to a 10 on the scale, I call it comparative clemency. We like to point at other white people and say, now that guy's a racist. I don't act like that. So we give ourselves a free pass, and we need to quit doing that because I know very few, really I don't know any white people who I would think of as a 0 on the 1 to 10 racist scale. But to answer your question, Hatter, I wrote half the book by accident. I was spending so much time arguing with white racists on social media that I eventually decided, I was like, I'm spending too much time composing original messages. I need to keep a list because they say the same. It's like there's this unwritten, like, international racist handbook, and they all know it by heart. So I'm dealing with like the same 10 to 15 nonsense points over and over and over. And it was taking up a lot of my day. I was like, I'm not going to give these people this much time. I'm going to copy and paste. So I started keeping a list of racist talking points and my rebuttal. And then when I'd see them, I just would open the Word doc and copy and paste, right? And that took my time, cut my time on the topic, by much more than half, right? And all of a sudden, I had like 60 pages in a Word doc. And I was like, man, I got like a book started. I may as well go ahead and write it. And so I just did.
Pete, I got some, Pete, because I love words. And, I looked up the word, you know how people hear it. I looked up the word. And the key thing in the definition is said that racists are people who believe that a particular race is superior to another. So you said some people are Bull Connor, George Wallace, and those guys like that. How are there degrees of racism? Since you said other people, how's there a degree? Because the definition says, maybe you can explain it, because it might be another definition. But Webster says a person who believes that a particular race is superior to another. That means if you're a racist, you feel you're superior to another race. Could you clear that up for me? Because I just looked at the definition.
Yes. So one, there's many definitions in many different dictionaries.
Okay.
And all white supremacists are racist, but not all racists are white supremacists. So, for example,
okay.
When I was working at Skyline High School, we had a kid late to practice one day, and Coach Mayo was fussing at him. And the kid said, "Oh, come on, Coach, it was CPT, colored people time. Other people say BPT." I wasn't in on that joke at that time, but I kind of chuckled. Well, then, since then, probably the majority of the time that I have been waiting for lunch and a black person I was meeting was late, I think to myself, CPT. So making a racial association with an individual's behavior is racist, period. And so it's racist when I do that. Doesn't mean I hate black people. Doesn't mean I want to harm black people. But if I'm associating an individual's behavior with their race, then I am a racist. Or if I'm thinking about cheetahs have characteristics that apply broadly. Black people don't, because black people are human, consequently not monolithic. And so you'll hear like these sweeping general comments about black people coming from white people. Well, that's where you're thinking all individual black people are one, which also is incredibly racist, whether you hate or want to harm black people or not. Does that make sense, Hatter?
So what if I think like that about somebody? That mean I'm a racist?
Yes. Yes, if you say something like Asians can't drive or Jews are smart with money, yeah, that's racist. You're being a racist.
So Jews are smart with money? That's a bad connotation?
Okay, so I'm glad that you brought this up. And I wish that I'd known LeBron when he went down this path before. It's a trope to talk about Jews and money. If you go back and look at the rationale behind the Holocaust, a lot of it was related to conspiracies about Jewish people and money. So you're talking about something that in a vacuum may be positive.
Okay.
In reality has caused millions of deaths. And same thing with once you go black, you never go back. It's not insulting to insinuate that black men are better lovers than white men. It's not, in a vacuum, but how many people got lynched behind that?
It's a great point.
So even if it's a quote unquote positive,
okay.
Even if I say Asians are good at math, it's not a negative thing to say, but it's still a racist thing to say.
Interesting.
I'm thinking about a race collectively. It's not the way it works. Think about basketball. Black people jump higher. Well, Rex Chapman doesn't think so. It's a racist thing to make a blanket statement. On average, based on the black people I've watched, yes, black people jump higher on average. But if you're just saying the comment in a sweeping manner, you're saying all black people are this. Again, y'all aren't cheetahs. Y'all are human beings. There's no characteristic that applies universally to y'all. And when people make comments that make it seem as if they feel that way, those comments are racist comments.
Okay. Jimbo?
And Pete, what are you find yourself, because you have, let me ask you this. On your scale for white people, the amount of black people that you dialogue with on a daily basis or weekly basis, what on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being hot, being the greatest, what were you in comparison with your allies, with white people? What would you be on that totem pole? Because I know you talked to a few blacks, but I don't know if that's above normal or below normal.
So most allies are 1s, 2s, or 3s on the 10-point scale. I think by the time you're a 4, you're not much of an ally anymore. You're more of a fence sitter, or what Dr. King would call the moderate. And most white people are in the 4, 5, 6 range. That's where the biggest concentration exists. And Dr. King was right then, and he's right now. The biggest stumbling block is the white moderate. We need them to get all in, because once that happens, then the politicians who only care about getting reelected, and white people are 73% of the country, right? And so the 73% of the country, the majority of that 73% are 4, 5s, and 6s. So from a political perspective, if you piss those people off, you're going to lose your next election. And that's the main reason why nothing ever happens. And as I continued writing the book, that became a major motivation. If I can take some 4s and make them 3s, then that moves needles election-wise and forces legitimate action toward solutions. So you're saying that's why? Just help me out. I'm following me.
How did? So you saying Obama was turning 3s into 4s?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Obama was. How did white people being a majority and this black man won the presidency?
Well, you got to remember that 4s, 5s, and 6s don't think they are racist, and they're often eager to do things to prove they're not racist. Often. So you see like a lot, there are plenty of, I personally know, because I went to St. John's for 9 years. Now, I was a scholarship kid for part of that. So we were not a private plane, summer home type of family. But of course, I had a lot of friends who were. And same thing by going to Kincaid. And so I personally know white people who are racist. I know them because I've known them my whole life, who donate even large sums of money to black causes. You have to remember, Lyndon Johnson was recorded saying the N-word in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
While he was beating the hell out of Dick Russell politically, forcing him to accept the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you could do a couple of nice things for black people and still be racist. And that's another frustration of mine. It's like Harry Truman integrated the armed services. He's a well-documented racist.
Yes.
Well documented.
Yes.
So this idea that, and I hear a lot also, first you hear I have a lot of black friends, which is, that's such a ridiculous and just expected thing to say, that white people are saying that a lot less than we did 15 years ago to defend ourselves. But lately you're hearing the, I had a black girlfriend, or I have multiracial children. And I say, yeah, so did Thomas Jefferson. Get out of my face with that. Quit making excuses. You just said racist things. And you wouldn't have said racist things unless you were, drum roll please, a racist. I don't care about the extenuating circumstances. Racists can have every extenuating circumstance in the world. It doesn't mean we're not racist.
Now, Pete, when the same context of what you're just saying, let's say a person tells a lie. In which, understand, a person tells a lie. Is it fair and proper to label that person as and label him as a liar because he tells one lie?
Sort of, and I actually talk about this a lot in the book. One of the chapters is that we need to recalibrate. We need to either get everybody to understand there's a scale, and that when we say you're a racist, we're not calling you a Hitler, or we need to come up with some new terms. Like, for example, Reba could be a racially or ethnically biased American. Because you're right, Jimmy, with what the implication of your question was, as far as I could tell, that, yeah, when you call the average white person a racist, even if they are, you do oftentimes shut down the conversation right away. White fragility is a real thing. And so recognizing that and playing to that strategically to have productive conversations that move the needle sometimes is the wisest choice to do. And so you're right. Like, you call someone a racist, you kill the conversation 9 out of 10 times. And we need to stoke the conversations, not snuff them out. So I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I can tell you this, though. I always preface it before I call a white person a racist, always. So in an interpersonal conversation, I'll say, hey, listen, I wrote a book about racism, and I consider myself to be a racist. And so you don't need to be upset with what I'm about to tell you, but you just said some pretty objectionable things that a racist would say, and let's talk about it. So I do preface it before I come out and throw a bomb in somebody's face for the very strategic purpose of what you were saying earlier, Jimmy, before I even came on. I'm not dismissing those factors.
Well, I was looking at some, and I want you to, just two-part thing. I was thinking about, I was out at dinner one time, just talking casual business, dinner. And the guy was just saying something, man, Robert, the white guy, Robert, man, it's a post-racial society now, Rob. Shoot, y'all got a black president. That's why I said that. He said this, a white dude said that. And I said, dude, and I just knew he just didn't, and he was sincere about it, Peter. And I mean, it's still baffling me today that cause that wasn't a setting, because I was about to say, dude, if you're talking about. But I just said, I just want to start talking to somebody else. Because when he said that, dude, no, we're not. What do you think about a guy gonna come and tell me that? Man, we're in a post-racial society now. Look, we voted for your president. You got a president that's black now.
Well, first thing I would have asked him had I been there was, who did you vote for? Because people who say that, they didn't vote for Obama. But the second point, and larger point, is that a clear majority in both 2008 and 2012 of white Americans did not vote for Obama. So we're talking about white-controlled power structures is the most important, the most harmful aspect of American racism, is what the white-dominated racist power structures are able to do. That's the banking system, the criminal justice system, the hiring system, everything really employment related, advancement being considered for the tippy top jobs and so on and so forth. In order for that point to make even a little bit of sense, and it wouldn't really make sense anyway, but the majority of white people would have needed to voted for Obama, because the majority of white people would have needed to have voted for Obama. And that just isn't the case.
Right.
So, and I would have also asked him, do you think every white person who voted against Obama was a racist? And I'm sure he would say no. And you should say, well, then why in the hell would you think that everyone who voted for him was not a racist? Your logic's completely inconsistent, my friend. So I wish I'd been there to slap him around for you, because it sucks.
Dude,
like
some people, everybody don't get this energy, man. This energy too good. I can't give everybody this energy. But let's get back to the stuff that's happening in the news. I want to get there. And my thing is, Pete, you know, I looked at Derek Colvin, the guy, and I looked at those guys, the police officers, and I watched the police, even the people that shot Aubrey, even the guys that just broke into, was in the wrong house and killed Breonna Taylor. What is it? Hold up. And then yesterday, in the last couple of days, I see on videos, a white officer had his bike and pushed the black woman off with his bike. White officer. Then a white girl attacked his behind with a red dress. I never forget. I think I say the video. She attacked him. He didn't push off and hit her. What makes it, you're white, what makes it that this guy can just sit and put his knee on this man's neck with a certain smirk on his face, like, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I got 16 citations. They done wrote me up so many times. And he done did this before. No, he have. Pete, in this climate, man, what makes a white cop, a white person? Because I'm talking about the mom, the brother and the dad and the son, who just shot this man. And then, Pete, and then just nothing be done about it. What makes these people think they can get away with this, man?
It's that it's the dehumanization of black people that existed and exists in America. The enslavers had to view black human beings as somehow subhuman, or they wouldn't have been able to morally justify the institution of slavery. So think about the children of the enslavers after the Civil War. Do you think they wanted to think of their parents as evil people? Well, of course not. Nobody wants to think of their parents as being evil. And so they have to continue, to a certain extent, justifying the institution of slavery and the dehumanization of black people. And that stuff is still around. It doesn't go away. You look at 100 years after we fought the Civil War, Dr. King and Ralph David Abernathy and John Lewis and Reverend Joseph Lowry and many, many others marched on Washington, and we saw the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act get passed. And it's like, what white people don't get is that 100 years after the Civil War, we still needed to do that. So a war, a 4-year war, didn't cure racism and the systematic dehumanization of black people. But we think 2 packages of federal laws did the trick and stopped it on a dime. That's a really absurd way to look at things. But that's how a lot of white people, I would say even most white people, seem to instinctively feel. We're still dealing with this, but we had the Civil Rights Act. you know, and so it's the dehumanization. It hasn't. I actually did a mathematical scale speculating about this topic, and unfortunately, I think we have about another 125 years to go as a nation before the clear, even a vast majority of white people see black people as human, as fully human.
And it's so key. What you're saying had two thoughts, and it's two thoughts. I'm just trying to see which one. Jimmy, I'll let you go. Because I want to be very careful. I want to be very strategic when I say what I have to say. Jimmy, you got something? Because I'm trying to see which one of these thoughts that I really want to get across. But Jimmy, what you got?
I go to the boom boom room and.
Oh, you ain't got it. Well, let me help you out.
Hold on, we got a couple of questions on this topic, and that way, because otherwise, want to include your thoughts as we go along, because this is a conversation. And Theo asked a question, and sometimes these questions, for some of you guys, it may seem like people are being funny, but you don't know the person on the other side. They may very well be sincere with trying to understand why white people do or feel certain ways. The thing is, a lot of times white people are reluctant or very rare to ask black people how and why we are feeling what we feel. We find ourselves having to attempt to, like you said earlier, persuade you. And as we're persuading you, it gets into a offense versus defense type of game. Whereas then something, if you say one trigger word in that conversation, then the other person is going to shut down and the dialogue bridge is broken. Theo asked, why do Caucasians support Trump so vehemently, right? They defend them to no end. They make excuses for the injecting disinfectant statement and swear he's not divisive. Now, understand, this is a question I'm presenting to you from the boom boom room. And like I say, he may be sincere or he just might be joking. I don't know, Theo. So, Pete, can you just dive in there? Because a lot of people really don't know why people going clean off to the left defending this president in a lot of things that he do.
Well, so you've got three distinct categories of Trump voters. You've got the single issue pro-life voters. That's a much smaller subset than they claim. Almost every Trumpster claims they're in that subset. Really, it's more like 10 or 12%. People who sincerely are so upset about the topic of abortion, they would look past literally anything else to vote for someone who's going to appoint judges who are going to be against Roe versus Wade. And then the second category are rich people who want to keep more of their cash. Because every Republican is going to let rich people keep more of their cash. And that's about another 10 or 12%. And then the remaining are people who are, for the most part, less educated white people, less financially successful white people. And Trump has played the oldest trick in the book. And that is that if you can convince unsuccessful white people that they're at least better than someone else, they will ride with you till the end. And Trump has scapegoated immigrants, in particular on this topic. Mexico's not sending their best. They're sending rapists. Well, every unsuccessful white person feels like the reason I'm unsuccessful is because all these damn immigrants took all the good jobs. Well, that's not really true. It's not even true at all. But it's the oldest trick in the book. And that explains, in my view, a clear majority of Trump's voters' reasoning for being so ride or die for him. So that's my view on that topic.
Let's go. What else
now,
you got,
speaking of the president, in case you know, just moments before we went on the air today, this morning there was a conference call with most of the governors across the country. And I will inform you guys what the president said during that conference call this morning. Matter of fact, I'm going to quote the president this morning in a call with the governors. He says, "You have to dominate," talking about the protesters, right? And or you'll look like a bunch of jerks. You have to arrest and try people. This comes after the statement which he had re-quoted about the looting and the shooting. And still, understand, Pete, you have to make us understand. Let's take that and we move into what happened. Do white people understand what black people want right now? Do they understand what we as a race, what we are asking for? Do you think that most of white folks understand?
No, definitely not most. I mean, I would say that, and one, of course, different black people want different things. But if I could, from what I'm hearing and from what I understand based on a lot of conversations over the years and reading a lot and things like that, the number one thing that y'all want is for police terrorism against black people to end. Now, there are a lot of other issues out there, but it seems like that may be number one. Let me throw it back to y'all. What's your number one? What's the number one thing that you really want and need to see changed?
Well, you're asking the question?
Yes.
Well, number one right now is the number one cause that was the fight. This fight was for to end police brutality against our people. The great disparity of when a white police officer as attacks, and then it escalated to the point of killing a numerous amount of black men that were unarmed. That's the initial common ground fight, no matter rich, poor, smart, dumb. Black folk, that's what we are fighting for. Now, in this particular instance, that's rumor number one. But subtopic A is we are fighting for the arrest and prosecution, which will lead to justice for not just one, but all four. At least now, when you seek for something, it's like we shooting for four, but we'll take two of them. That's what the good fight is for today. That's encompassed by that, and that's why I asked you a question. Like I said, it's not. And when we ask, sometimes, Pete, I'm gonna give you the disclaimer. Sometimes black folk might get a little loud when they ask. But if you know the person that you're talking with, then you know the loud ain't directed at you. It's directed at the frustration of watching what's happening out there. So I want to give you a disclaimer. We're not mad at you. We're just mad at the establishment and how we know, and I had to ask a while ago, how does it keep happening? Or how do these guys think to get away with it? And just give us your thoughts on how very well you think, and a lot of white people believe, that this guy is probably going to get away with it.
Well, the one guy is not going to get away with it. He's going to prison. The other three, I'm not so sure. I agree completely that they should be arrested and prosecuted. If, at a minimum, I was thinking about this the other day, if we got all these Good Samaritan laws on the books and the police unions carved out an exemption for the police to having to comply with Good Samaritan laws, what a terrible shame that would be. But regardless of whether or not Minnesota has a Good Samaritan law, it's clearly at a minimum manslaughter to me. because that was a preventable death had they acted. And police are supposed to protect and serve, and they did neither. So I hope that I'd like to see all four convicted of murder. If the one cop got convicted of murder and the other three got convicted of manslaughter, that would be less preferable but acceptable to me. My own view, as you asked me. Hatter, are you with Jimmy? Ending police terrorism is the number one?
No, it's
issue?
I got so many things, man. My thing is the social. See, I don't want to ask for nothing. I can't demand somebody to give up their power. You got to take power. You have to demand power. I can't ask for nobody to give up your power. My thing is, I looked at all of the media this weekend, and I saw a lot of people who have been left out of the social contract find there's no need for me to adhere to it. Why should I adhere to something that I'm not even a part of? And I know this system was built deliberately. I want to figure out a way to change the system. Through voting or however, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not telling them to give it to me. I'm trying to figure it out. Fix the problem that white people that always benefited from. How can I ask them to fix a problem that you've always benefited from? I got to figure out a way to take it or demand it or vote it out. And think about, because I'm an athlete, and athletes are wired to do this. I look at all the athletes that are coming up, Peter. They're team players, on and off the field. Athletes operate, Peter, in a merit-based world. If I do good, merits. But in the real world, you're not advanced because of your merits. You're advanced because of your color or lack of color. See, my thing is just trying to figure out. We got a long history of athletes standing up. But to me, it's incumbent to the white in this society to address this issue head on. Whites should address their own people first. I'm sitting here looking at the white athletes, the Tom Brady's, the Drew Brees, those top guys in the NFL, who sit back and let Colin Kaepernick. It's the same thing this guy been fighting for, Peter. They sat back and let this guy take all that heat. We know we can't fix the systemic issues in the whole country. But let's start in our sphere of influence. Tom Brady, LeBron, that's why I love LeBron. I go back, Peter, I went and look back in the 60s and the 70s. And maybe I'm talking about athletes so much because me being one and I'm in this industry, Peter. In the 60s and the 70s, the top athletes, the Jim Browns, the Muhammad Ali, the Bill Russells, the top tier guys, risk everything, death threats for to move this thing. So really me, Peter, it ain't a fair question to ask me because I ain't asking them to do nothing. I'm really want to put a plea out to my athletes, black athletes, to talk with their counterparts. Think about it, man. Bob Kraft and these 32 owners, they are 32 of the most powerful men in the world. They can change legislation. They change it for their funding, for the funding of their stadiums. They change it for everything. I would say, hold on. Let's use this power. Okay, what's the name of that city? Minnesota. We're not coming and playing in Minnesota till y'all get this stuff right. Didn't they do that in North Carolina for the All-Star game, Peter? The bathroom issue, you know, they had they had the not transgender. Both people can go in the bathroom in Charlotte. The NBA pulled out of Charlotte and said, until you get that bill fixed, until that thing happens, we're not coming back. We got power. We just don't know we have power. But our power ain't asking you to change no rules for me. Ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to come to Peter. Peter done benefited all his life. Peter, I can't come to you and ask you to change. But if I got some Tom Brady's of the world, the Drew Brees, that's friends with some of these athletes, we got to clean up our own. Peter, the NFL released a statement. The most hypocritical system in the world. 32 coaches, but 2 of them black. 70% of their workforce is black. So my thing is, Peter, I want to start in my sphere of influence. I know I'm all over the place. Start in my sphere of influence. I'm not asking for nobody to do nothing. I'm trying to see what we can do. And my thing, I know at the state and local government, we got to vote. We got to mobilize. We got to mobilize, and we got to be strategic. I've seen where it happened. I tell you, just look at history. So that's not a fair question. I know you asked that for me and Jimmy. I don't have nothing I want to ask them to do for me.
You want them to treat you, to follow the rules that's all in place?
No.
We're not asking them to get to vote.
No. That's the way you feel.
No, that's what people are fighting for out there.
He asked what you want. I'm telling him what I want. And guess what? That's fighting. That's fine. See, what I learned about, especially in sports, especially in being around people with means, they listen to you when you affect their money, Peter. When the money changed, the reason Martin Luther King got killed down there in Memphis is because he started about to change the financial. When he told them people, stop buying Silk-Test milk, stop buying Wonder Bread, stop buying this. That changed things. So, I'm just, Jimmy, think about it. I'm not, if that's what you want, that's what you want.
No, that's what the fight is right now. Now, he has
more than one fight going on out here, Jimmy.
Dude. Right now, people want it. Remember, they gotten started marching because at first, the police officer was not arrested. Nobody was arrested. So people took to the streets.
Jimmy, they've been doing that. Jimmy, they've been doing that forever.
I'm talking about the
Orlando Castile had the same thing happen to him.
The same thing, and the motivation took you out there, took them out into the streets. My
problem is, we're gonna think about this, Peter, for a month or two with the news cycle. I want to give people something that they won't forget and can practice doing to make this thing. Because guess what? The bottom line, Peter, if the police felt I'm going to lose my job and lose my livelihood, just maybe, I won't do this so carelessly like I've been doing. So now, Peter, you can join in.
Well, if you're talking about solutions, I wrote about 80 pages on that in the book, and on the specific topic of ending police terrorism, 2 that I would love to see advanced. 1, police officers should have to carry personal insurance policies against police misconduct lawsuits, because the insurance industry is much better at assessing risk and much more brutal about holding high-risk people accountable. And you will pretty quickly see the officers with repeated complaints. Their insurance monthly premiums would be more than their monthly take-home pay. And then they would need to go find a new line of work. And then I'd also love to see a federal fund established in the billions, offering cash rewards to police officers who inform on other police officers. We've got to do something to demolish the blue wall of silence. And the reason why people say that it's just a few bad apple cops, well, one, they forgot how that phrase goes. If one bad apple spoils the bunch, why are we not concerned about, quote, a few? But the second thing is, I believe it's an absolute prerequisite in order to consider yourself a good cop, that you speak up and act against the bad cops. And if you don't, then you're a bad cop too. And so I'm at the point now where we have to demolish the blue wall of silence. We have to get police officers informing. They know who it is. They know who it is. Same thing in a hallway at a classroom. We knew who the sorry teachers were. We knew. We didn't say anything. But guess what? I understand not snitching, especially on quote unquote my own. But the sorry teachers were preventing kids from learning world geography. The sorry cops are killing people. So when there are lives at stake, it's time to ignore your personal ethic of not being a snitch. It's time to speak up and do the right thing. I say all the time that if I knew about a teacher who was embezzling a couple $100 out of a fund for him or herself, would I snitch on that teacher? I don't know. I'd probably not. I'm really pretty aggressively anti-snitching. But if I knew about a teacher who was raping a 7-year-old, would I snitch then? You're damn right I'd snitch, or might even wind up in prison myself before I got a chance to snitch. And the police need to, and not to mention it's so hypocritical, because if you think about it, a police's whole job is snitching. That's their job. They get paid to snitch, but they won't snitch on each other. And that's just wrong. And so we got to figure out a way to demolish the blue wall of silence. And
explain the blue wall of silence, because some people, that might have went over their head. The same thing I'm saying, we got to hold police accountable.
It's the code of omertà. If you look at the code of omertà, the mafia code, they think that being verbally disrespected is a good excuse to become violent. So do cops. They think they're above the law. So do cops. They never cooperate into investigations into their own lawlessness. Criminals don't, and cops don't either. They never inform on their cohorts during the matter of a criminal investigation. That's both the mafia and cops. And they enact severe retributions on the very rare cases where someone actually does step up and speak up. And that's both the mafia and cops as well. Frank Serpico had a hit put out on him.
Yeah.
And why do we know that name? Why is he so famous? For the same reason the Elephant Man is famous. There's only one of them, right? If more police would speak up, Frank Serpico's name wouldn't be known. And it's sad that it's known, and it reveals, like I said again, a few bad apples my foot. If you don't speak up against the bad cops, you're a bad cop. Period. Just like
speaking of cops, Pete, the unions, and that's a layer. That's a whole different topic. But understanding the unions, that the police unions I'm talking about, and let's say even in different cities, they have different more benefits or more protection as a result of their union than the next city or state. Do you think that the unions breed enablers?
Well, absolutely. But let me tell you something. And I ran on this for school board. I said that we absolutely need to identify and root out the sorry teachers. But my criteria was the ones who don't care, the ones who mailed it in, the ones who are hanging on for retirement and really aren't doing their part. I was not looking at test scores. And that's a whole nother can of worms. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But I'm talking about the legitimately sorry teachers, which is like 2 out of 50. They just don't care, right? And we got to get rid of those teachers. And I was told, oh, but the unions. I said, what about them? They got lawyers. We got lawyers. Everybody's got lawyers. Fire them. Let the courts figure it out. And I feel the same way about police unions. It's cowardly when mayors and police chiefs won't fire the terrorist cop because they're afraid of the union. You're a coward. Does the police chief not have an attorney? Does the mayor not have an attorney? Why are we so afraid? Who are these police union attorneys? They got Superman working for them? Like, why are we afraid of the unions? F the unions. Fire the dude and let the courts figure it out. But if the courts say you can't fire them, then I guess you put them on desk duty, take their gun away, and keep paying them. But at a minimum, you make sure they can never harm somebody else again. You already know that dude in Minnesota that murdered George Floyd had previous complaints. You already know it. I don't know it for sure, but I know it for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have been on the street. And the fear of the police union, it's cowardice. It's just cowardice. What's the worst they can do? They take you to court. Well, let's go to court then. Let's go to court. Are we more afraid of going to court against the unions than we are of black people being murdered by terrorists? Explain to me how that makes sense.
That's what I was saying, I think, earlier. The people are not going to just give and cede that power. Yeah, they're not going. Let me go ask that union. Hey, union, will y'all just quit letting y'all people kill us? Mr. Union, hell no, it's not going to happen. Guess what?
I didn't say that.
I didn't say you said it. I didn't say you said it.
I said fire the bad cop.
No, nobody said that. Here's the thing that the thing that's up under the rug, and that is the fraternity within the fraternity. And that's the taboo, the unspoken. And now, Pete, I'm quite sure you know some white people whom are police officers or have relatives that are police officers that are falling that 1 to 2 category on that level of 10 that you mentioned earlier, as far as their affection towards black people. Well, the fraternity within the fraternity. Here's what I mean. In unions, in police, as employees, the staff, there are certain people that have another shield, that have another secret organization that they may have an allegiance to, and it's always been that way. And it's in some parts of the country, it may be a little bit greater than others, but we act like it don't exist. Now, does that play a great part in a lot of the stuff that we see getting swept under the rug in order for one guy to help his brother?
Are you talking about the cops who also belong to the KKK or the secret societies that exist inside police departments?
Yes.
Yeah. There's zero doubt that there are easily thousands, probably tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of American police officers who literally belong to the KKK. And you're absolutely right about that. And it's very under-discussed. And this goes back to me to why it's important to take measures to demand the destruction of the Blue Wall of Silence. Because probably there are police officers who are aware of cops who are Klansmen, but not Klansmen themselves. But they're deciding to protect their fellow cop instead of deciding to step up to the plate and do the right thing. And I'm in favor of literally anything anyone can think of to force police officers to speak up against other police officers, whether that's financial reward, whether that's new laws that that criminalize not speaking up, if it can be shown that you knew and didn't speak up, we're going to hold you criminally accountable. If that's working to get the new language in police union contracts, if that's, again, just simply having the willingness to say we're going to let the courts figure it out, right? The unions can't stop you from firing anyone. They can just take you to court if you do. And it's time to go to court, and because Hatter, you're right. And I'm sorry I cut you off earlier.
No, that's all right.
The unions are certainly, no one is just going to be like, oh, of course I'll give up my power voluntarily. And back to the thing that you've harped on a lot, Hatter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is important that we vote. I think it's under half of Americans who don't vote. And everybody always points to how black people don't vote, but it's not a very measurable gap. It's like 45% of white people vote and 43.5% of black people vote. It's not like when that topic comes up.
No, it was a little bit more than that for black people in the last. Now it went down on the last election, but when Obama, though 2008, 2012, that number was about 65%. For black people.
I'm not quoting the numbers from any one election, but if you look at like the aggregate, unless I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, under half of Americans vote. And the gap based on race is small, was my point. I don't know if it's actually 45, 43.5. Those were numbers that are sort of an amalgamation of what I remember off the top of my head. But the point I was making is that a lot of times people put out there, you guys didn't, but a lot of people put out there, and not just white racists, but some black thought leaders on this topic, that, oh, black people don't vote. And I just wanted to point out that really people don't vote. Yeah. Right? Like most things that you can point to and say, oh, black people don't this, black people. No, it's more people don't. Yeah, people don't. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
No, you're good. You're good, man. Hey, you're good.
Two quick questions from the Boom Boom Room. One is, Lionel want to know, are you for or against laws protecting citizens who intervene in the act of a police brutality?
100%. And
100% for or against?
100% for.
Okay.
And I also want to say that sometimes it's not just the laws, it's the implementation of the laws and how the courts rule. My understanding is every American has the absolute constitutional authority to intervene. Legally, had I shot that murderer in the head before he had a chance to murder George Floyd, I would have been legally protected on paper, I believe, based on defense of others. Now, would the system have actually done the right thing and let me go like they did George Zimmerman? Well, probably not, right? And so we might need new laws to clarify and strengthen existing laws, but also possibly to overrule court case precedent, because the courts have weakened a lot of civil rights laws. If you look at some of the rulings in the 80s, and I can't call the exact cases, but they've really opened up the door to a lot of this, like the reasonable fear standard. All the cop has to do is say, I was afraid, and they basically do anything they want. And I can't cite the exact court case, but the Supreme Court has greatly weakened a lot of the existing, and this goes back again to Hatter's point. 2020 is a critical election.
Critical.
Whether you like Joe Biden or not.
That's right.
We cannot let another Trump appointee replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't think he's going to take it. Oh. And right now, at least Roberts, and surprisingly, I looked at this recently, Kavanaugh has not been the far right-wing ideologue nut job I probably thought he was going to be. But Gorsuch is, for the most part. And Alito and Thomas really are. And so whether you like Biden or not, that everybody registers and everybody goes to the polls and brings their friends to the polls, because I really feel that it's a necessity for us to get this guy out of office. And I don't normally say that. I don't feel that it's necessarily a civic duty to vote. It's a free country.
Yeah.
Right? Like if this was George W. Bush against Joe Biden, I would not have said what I just said.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha. I got you. That's good, Pete. I hate we to run out of time, man, because I had about 10 more questions for you. But guess what? We're going to bring you back.
I'm always happy to run it back, and good to see you guys. And, this entire situation is horrible. And I think we all are in agreement that we hope that something tangible and good and broad, not just the arrest of the other three, but that we see some attitudes and some policies change as well.
Thank you, sir. I couldn't have said it no better.
Guys, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Pete.
Okay, guys.
Jimmy, you done put yourself on mute.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
and
all right.
Peter Swingham, and a great convo with Pete.
Awesome, Pete.
Now we'll go, our next guest, he's remember I told you at the top of the show he was traveling, so it restricted the time that he could join us today, and also restricting him from being able to join us where you could see him live. He's going to join us with an audio call, and that is Judge Joe Stevens, who the North Shore High School graduate, played in the NBA. He's very loved on the board at Galena Park ISD, and everybody in the city knows Judge Joe Stevens. And he's with us right now. And first of all, want to give you congratulations in order from the Chop Shop. We're letting you know right now that we have to get your daughter on the Chop Shop next week to talk about her performance, because tell us what your daughter is en route to doing right now, and how did she get to this point to qualify her to what she's about to partake in.
First of all, gentlemen, thank you for having me. She qualified 2 weeks ago at Quail Valley Golf Course, shot a 3 under 68, and that got her in the Texas Women's Open. It's in Dallas at Old American Golf Course. She'll tee it up in her first round tomorrow at 2 p.m. And there's LPGA professionals in the field, Stacey Lewis, Jarena Pillar, Brittany Lane, and many others, man, countless Symetra Tour players. So it'll be a good experience. Of course, she can't win any of that purse. I wish we could, but she can't win any of the purse, but definitely going to have a great experience.
Now explain why she can't win in that purse for those who don't understand. And what is the purse?
The purse is, I think, $75,000. She's an amateur. She's an amateur competing in a professional event. So if you want to keep your amateur status, if Nike is listening, if y'all got $10 million, we'll forego college. But if not, we've got to keep our amateur status. So we're teeing it up solely for the trophy and for the love of the game this week.
Hey, Joe, don't go there, Joe. You remember the text I gave you? I sent you.
Yeah.
Nike is well aware of who Allen is, don't you?
After this finish, we're gonna put this pressure on Nike.
Hey, they aware. And guess what, Joe? What's so unique about it, Joe? Nike don't deal in the equipment phase anymore. So, but the apparel deal, shoe deal, hat, glove, and all that kind of stuff they do. But I hate they got out of the equipment business. They're not in the equipment business anymore. No more balls, no more golf clubs. So I hate that, Coach. Yeah. But Joe, Odyssey Williams on the Facebook feed said, "All right, Hatter, I know you're gonna get scared because Joe on the air because of golf." Joe. Tell him, Joe. Just tell him. Huh?
What'd you say?
No, Odyssey said that I was going to get scared of you playing golf.
No, man, no. Honestly, Hatter got a whole lot of game, and he got a whole lot of time to play too.
Not no more. No,
but
Joe.
Odyssey, let me give a shout out to Odyssey, man. He does a lot of good in our community on the east side. Odyssey deals with a lot of girls and girls basketball, and not only his daughter Courtney, who went on to play in the WNBA. Man, he is still active in the community, even though his kid is gone. If we get a kid that gets in trouble or something, man, Odyssey will bring them to me, even before the coach. And we try to deal with it and keep a lot of those youth on our side of town out of trouble so they can expand their horizons beyond North Shore and make some of themselves.
Now, we'll get right into it, Judge Joe, and that is, of course, over the weekend, everybody have seen the footage. We didn't even bother going and dissecting that stuff because we know that the viewership of the Chop Shop is much broader and everybody has saw it. Now, my question to you, because explain, you're a judge. Now, tell them what precinct you're a judge and what do you do based on your day-to-day, first before we get into the convo.
I'm just for the Peace Precinct 3, Place 1, and I'm one of 16 JP judges in Harris County. I see dockets with everything from debt claims with credit cards to evictions to traffic citations. So when you get a traffic ticket, I'll see you on a Friday and, you enter a disposition. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, as well as helping our youth and trying to stand as an example for our youth that you can be an African-American man or woman. You can be a father, you can be a husband, and you can be a judge. So I hope that's my lasting legacy, that kids to see me with that robe on and realize the court is just not a place you go when you're in trouble. It can be a future employment opportunity where you can do the right thing.
Now, I'm looking over the country. We've had a protest in over approximately 25 states over the weekend. What's your thoughts coming from? Remember, because you're able to view the room from a different perch, an abnormal perch that you're sitting in the tree looking down in the woods. That's from the perch of a judge, and that's a hell of a fraternity to be in. Congratulations in order for that. But protests, and throughout the years, is there ever been a protest that America approved of? And give us your thoughts on that.
The Boston Tea Party, and they called that a party, and it was exactly what you see going on right now. Hatter and Hicks, I'm driving to Dallas right now, and I don't have my robe on. Mm-hmm. I'm just a black man driving 45 north to Dallas. If the cops get behind my car right now, I'm going to do what every black man since the age of 15 when he started driving is going to do. I'm going to start patting my pockets, looking around to make sure nothing's in my car. And I'm going to be fearful for what that interaction is going to be like. And that's from my judge's perch. So, right, at the end of the day, when you take the uniform off, whether you're a judge or a police officer, there's an inherent fear as an African-American man that I've lived with my entire life that no human being should have to live with. When Kaepernick kneeled and forewent a football career to silently protest on the sidelines for injustices against unarmed African-American men being killed, he was called un-American. When 50 armed white men stormed Capitol buildings in Minnesota, Michigan,
yes.
They're seen as patriots. There is an inherent racism in this country that, if you look back in history, all the way back to slavery wasn't a decision where a slave master woke up one day and said, "I'm just tired of owning slaves." Slaves got tired of being slaves, and talking wasn't enough. Everybody has a breaking point. When you watch Kaepernick kneel and you watch the movement of Black Lives Matter, and out of their mouths they say Black Lives Matter. We stand for equality for people of color. We stand for African American men to stop being killed by police. That's our mission. The response to that was, well, white lives matter too, and so do blue lives. Well, white lives and blue lives aren't dying at disproportionate rates like African American men are. So, it's like anything else. Like, my success doesn't mean your failure. My speaking out for my plight doesn't mean your life is insignificant. We know your life is significant because nobody's taking your life on the side of the street for no reason. I heard a quote the other day that, racism sure is on the rise. No, racism isn't on the rise. Racism is being filmed now. And thank God for camera phones, because this has been going on in our community for years. It's only come to the forefront. At first with Rodney King with an old school camcorder. Now it seems like there's 2 or 3 incidents a year. And the reason why is because of camera phones. The stuff I'm telling you about as a kid, the stuff I would tell my coach about, the stuff I would tell my white friends about, and I would get it, man, it's not that bad. It's an insult. It's the highest form of privilege, because you're so privileged that you're going to tell me what my experience is, and I'm living it.
Yes.
But there has to be a level of empathy. There has to be a level of conversation. I don't advocate violence. I'm a judge. I'm an elected official. But the Bible says an eye for an eye. You guys just got through watching The Last Dance documentary, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference between Steve Kerr's experience and Scotty Burrell's experience was as a Chicago Bull?
Steve Kerr fought back.
Steve Kerr punched the bully in the mouth. Sometimes in life, people don't understand nothing but bloodshed and me punching you in your mouth. And I think that's the fear. And another issue is, we talked about it for years, about community policing and this, that, and the other. As Black men, when we walk in the room, there's already, I've walked in rooms with a suit on, fresh cut from the barbershop, looking my close as I can to our former president, Barack Obama. And I've been told, you're very intimidating. What's intimidating about a man in a suit with a fresh haircut? It's my skin color. It's my skin color. So you're telling me that because I'm tall, and I'm African American, and I'm a larger than average man, that's intimidating. Well, what do you think a white cop thinks when he pulls somebody over that looks like me? Man, this dude can jump high, he can run fast, and I'm already fearful of him. So I got to handle him extra stern. He's 6'7", 240. He can handle a knee on his neck for 9 minutes. He's super Negro. Look how big he is. Hey, man, I would tell people all the time when I see people at the country club about to play golf and they slap you on the back, hey, man, damn, you hit me kind of hard, man. Look, my nerve endings feel the same as yours. Just because I'm big don't mean I can take more. So I know I said a mouthful, man. I'm going to be quiet and let you guys
talk. No, that was good, Joe.
No, we got you on here to get your thoughts on it. And so now, can you explain, or do you share to dive into the process of the legal process and how what do you expect to happen or to transpire over the next couple of weeks as far as the other 3 officers that were involved in the Minnesota?
I think they'll be brought up on charges. I think that the third degree murder, the depraved part murder, is a bar that I think a prosecutor can achieve. First degree murder is a tougher standard, right? You have to prove malice, malice of forethought. So one would have to prove that he acted with premeditation and deliberation when he was on his neck. Now, you and I, from what we saw, I think that, you know, from what I saw, I would want first-degree murder, but I just don't know if a jury is going to go for it. But I do know that a good prosecutor, a decent prosecutor, can prove that he acted with reckless, wanton abandon for human life. And that's, I think, it's 25 years. And I think every man that was there, standing and kneeling on Mr. Lloyd, should be charged and convicted of third-degree murder. I'm of the hopes that they can get his civil rights were violated as well, and maybe give them some more time. But beyond that, I hope this is it. I hope this is the last time we have to have this conversation in this country. In November, we need everybody to stand up. I'm so encouraged when I do see these protests. That it's not just us out there. There is a multicultural movement going on in this country right now of whites, blacks, Asians, browns, standing side by side. I'm telling you, man, I'm so inspired by Generation X. I'm so inspired because that's who I see out there on skateboards and these kids standing up for what they believe in, right, shoulder to shoulder with kids of different races. And I hope that's my kids' existence. I don't have any sons, and you know, I always wanted one. But when I see what I've seen for the last few years, I'm almost happy I don't have a son. It's enough just for me to endure. I hate to have this on a young man that I was a father to.
Joe,
but I'm tired of hurting y'all. I'm tired of watching men that look like me. George played basketball at Fondy. How do you know?
Yeah. I don't know him. I know of him.
Recreation.
And Joe, you know what's so unique, Joe? I wanted to share this with you because you talk about the multitude of people. Joe, I have never seen, I mean, in all the other the murders that's happened, the Trayvon Martin and Eric Garner and all of these. Joe, did you see what's going on in Germany, in New Zealand,
yeah,
in London, all over the world? These people are protesting what's happening in America. America is on watch right now. They on a grand stage. And Joe, you just said something that really touched me. Last night, I get a call. My son happened to live in Lower Manhattan. Last night, I just get a text. Man, I'm all right. I done made it home. Man, but it's a car blew up right near me.
wow.
Can you imagine how I felt? I felt like hopeless. A car blew up not far from him. He was just walking back to his place.
There's a lot in this country, and God forgive me if I'm standing up and I shouldn't, but I'm angry and I'm doing the best I can to stay politically correct. There's a large segment of this country that should be glad that only buildings are burning and people aren't dying.
Yeah.
That fight isn't, you took out one of mine, I'm going to take out two of yours. I don't ever want somebody of another persuasion to wake up with the pain I have to wake up to. And not only the pain, even worse, the fear that I have to wake up to every day, knowing that people that look like me are dying. I could have been George Lloyd. We about the same size.
Yeah. Yeah.
And begging for your mother didn't work. Sir, please get off my neck didn't work. Man, I just cavalier hands. But guess what? George Zimmerman is still walking around free.
Yes, sir.
Don't if somebody would have videoed the George Zimmerman Trayvon Martin encounter, you would have found the same thing. Zimmerman was the aggressor. You just didn't have a video proof he got away with it because guess what? Trayvon wasn't around to tell his side of the story.
Mm-hmm. And I want to share something with you too, Joe. How furious, Coach? I know some people are talking. I know you're tired, but now Joe, we got to figure out how we're gonna make this thing work. But I was thinking about this, Joe. How furious do people have to be to gather in the streets at a time when a highly infectious disease is killing thousands daily, especially black and brown people, who are dying at this disproportionately high rate? Pretty damn furious that these people, some with no mask, some with dude, is something going on in this country right now. And I just want to capitalize. Because, Joe, I just don't want this to be a moment. I want it to be a movement.
I don't think it is.
And hold on. And the difference in a moment and a movement is sacrifice.
The first thing we got to do is get Trump out of office, man. In November, we need to go to the polls in unbelievable fashion to get this guy out of the country, out of office. And then we've got to do the same thing around the country to those that support this guy. I'm at the point, Hattie, you can't support Trump and support me. You got to make a choice.
Oh.
And that's at the detriment of a re-election. If somebody out there supports me with a vote, you can't support him and support me, man. You got to make a decision because it's what he stands for is the total opposite of who I am. And I just believe in my heart if he had it his way, he'd have me on the other side of that wall he wants to build. And I think "Make America Great Again" is cold. And you know what it's code for. Just substitute great for a word that starts with W and ends with E.
Joe, stop. Joe, did you hear? Joe, put a pin right where you just said. Make America great again, right? Did you hear what he said about the MAGA people? He said the MAGA, check this out. Watch these words, Jay. The MAGA love the African Americans. The MAGA loves the Africans. The MAGA look out for the Joe, so what that mean? Make America great ain't got nothing to do with, because you're not a part of it. Hold up. If I got to explain to you that I like you, that means you're not a part of me. So to all you black folks out there who vote for him, you're not part of MAGA. He just said the MAGA is white. He said this yesterday.
Do you remember when during this campaign there would be some blacks in the crowd and he had to sign black for Trump? And he said, "Look at my blacks over there. Look at my little blacks over there. I got my blacks that." Can you imagine that Barack Obama had a section of whites when he was on the podium? And he said, "Look at my whites over there. I got a bunch of whites. They support. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Come on, look at my look, man. Look, man. Bottom line, we got to draw a line in the sand, and it's time to stand for what we believe in and don't accept anything less. And if you got to go out on your shield, so be it. That's what we have as a country right now."
So now with the country, the elections are coming up, and a lot of people who may be anti the bigger picture right now for their vote. And there are people out there trying to discourage people, saying because of the Electoral College and what the role it plays in electing the president. But the actual person, do you care to elaborate on what that vote or that potential vote could mean for on the local level moving forward?
Well, first and foremost, a no vote is a vote for Trump. There is a very racist, predatory, exclusionary movement going on in Texas right now. Texas is one of few states that this election cycle banned no straight party voting. So you
Yes.
can no longer go to the polls and check Democrats and get every Democrat from the president all the way down to your state representative. You can't do that anymore. So I want to encourage everybody that's out there listening, you've got to go down your ballot and check everybody that you want to vote for. It's, typically Democrats share Democratic values. And so whereas before you might have checked Democrats, you've got to go. I would almost encourage you to start at the bottom of your ballot on the last page and work your way up. Because the things that are going to make the most difference in your life are your local politics, like your mayor, right? We got a good mayor. Harris County is blue, right? We're blue. So why would you vote in the presidential race and not go all the way down ballot to keep Harris County blue? You want to start with your Harris County races and then work your way up to your national election. And I would just encourage everybody to don't do the no vote thing. Look, Joe Biden was Barack Obama's vice president. Don't lose sight of that.
Thank you.
Despite what he says, look, he's in earshot from Barack Obama. Barack will have Joe Biden here.
Yes.
Do you think Barack Obama has a better chance of talking to Joe Biden or to Donald Trump? And furthermore, which one of those guys would listen? Moving back towards the ideologies of a person like Joe Biden is moving us back to closer to a Barack Obama type president and not this chaos that we're seeing now. I've never seen the country in more of a chaotic state than right now. The lies, the propaganda. Before 3 years ago, I never heard of fake news. Now all of a sudden, every news is fake. Every news is fake now. Everything is fake. And it's not, come on, y'all. It wasn't fake when Barack Obama was president.
Yeah. But you know what's so unique, Joe? Thank you. Maybe like some people say, it sounds different when it comes from your ears. I said the same thing earlier in the show, that people just got these ballots, these local ballots, these local elections affect our lives. Think about it, Joe. And I was trying to explain to them, the prosecutor that did not want to charge Derek Chauvin or none of these guys who pussyfooting around with it up there. The governor had to come in and say, "Oh man, get out the way. Let me bring Keith Ellison in. Get out the way."
Yeah.
So guess what?
What if Ahmaud Avery? She look, man. The only reason Ahmaud Avery and the Mike got arrested was because the video surfaced. That happened back in February.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We just heard about it in May because the video got leaked. They were gonna sweep that under the rug, and another black man was gonna be dead. And then the first thing they tried to do, and the same thing they're trying to do with Brother Lloyd, they want to criminalize you. Oh well, he trying to pass a fake $20 bill. Criminal is the new word for black. And if you're a criminal, you know what that means? Well, it's okay to kill a criminal. So that's the brush they're trying to paint you with. Once the video comes out and you see it's a cold-blooded murder, then they start with the narrative of everything you did in life since you were 3 years old and try to make you look like this bad guy so this white guy can get off to killing you.
Judge Joe, do you think that there are outside organizations or entities that are behind a lot of these protests or the protesters?
No, man, no. I think you do have some stuff like that's questionable, like the stack of bricks on the side of the street. Kind of like, what is that about? But by and large, man, it's people like myself out there protesting. It's people out there. Now, you may have a few. I'd say 95% of the crowds you see are true people that are out there wanting to see change. I don't. You get the little sound bites. I saw the thing where the Caucasian ladies were spray painting walls. Well, man, they're doing what they think is a way to, they spray painting Black Lives Matter on buildings. Well, they out there protesting, man. I mean, but I don't think they're planned by some deep state organization that doesn't have. I don't believe that. I think, and I work in government, man. There's too much propaganda and social media is good, but man, it gave too many people a voice, to be honest with you, man. Everybody has an opinion, and some people that don't know nothing about nothing become the foremost expert on something and actually have a following.
Wow.
That's to me, that's one of the biggest problems I see in today's society is you get people that get a microphone and a podcast, and now they become the foremost expert on something they really don't know what they're talking about.
And Joe, I'm gonna add this one a little bit because I want to get back to these police officers because it was explained. I talked to a police officer. Okay, he said it's still places in Chicago right now, districts, that black officers, the district requests they not patrol their area.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you've got a lot of, that's another fraternal.
So can we request who patrol our area?
You can by who you put in office, and when you get that sheriff or that constable in office, you can demand officers that look like you that are going to be in.
Keep going, Joe. That was me.
The community, absolutely, you can. I mean, wouldn't you want somebody to police your neighborhood that doesn't fear black people?
Absolutely. And in discussing solutions, that would be a good solution to incentivize community policing. And meaning that, in other words, just like certain teachers in the education system, a lot of you guys may or may not know this, but you get an incentive if you are a teacher and go to a low performing, if you are a teacher that's of good merit and go to a low performing school, you want to go to one of those at-risk type schools, they give the teachers a stipend. They incentivize it. So what are your thoughts if they incentivize, like you mentioned about community policing? I mean, that the guys that you know as police patrolling their neighborhoods, don't you think that the brutality, the balance of it would shrink a great deal?
I think Houston is a good example of that. I think Houston Sheriff's Department, when you go to Northeast Houston, which is a part of my precinct, you got a lot of good Officer Groves. You got a lot of good guys out there that know the elderly people, that know the knuckleheads. Hey man, get on the curb, man. Y'all in the middle of the street. So all right, Officer such and such, and it doesn't end up being a shootout like in Ferguson, Missouri, where Michael Brown got killed. That was an officer that came from 30 miles away, that left his white picket fence, and in his mind and in his wife's mind, he worked in Beirut every day, this black community where they run fast, jump high, and they can kill you with their bare hands. And his fear was put on display when he killed Michael Brown in cold blood in the middle of the street, because he operates from a place of fear. Whereas if you had Officer such and such that grew up in Ferguson, that went on to be a sheriff deputy who saw Michael Brown, well, Michael Brown reminds him of his nephew. So he's going to handle Mike Brown like he handled his nephew. And if Mike gets a little too out of line, maybe he gets put in handcuffs, maybe he goes to jail, but Mike's not going to die. But watch the narrative, though, that I just talked about. And it goes back to Mike Brown. When you saw what happened to Mike Brown, what's the next thing they tried to say about him?
He's a bad guy. He's a bully.
He was stealing cigarettes out the store. He was trying to, he just robbed the store, so he deserved to die. The same thing with the brother in New York selling Lucy cigarettes on the side of the street.
Eric Garner.
Eric Garner. He's illegally selling cigarettes on the side of the street. Hey, man, hey. Stop trying to dig up this man's past. I saw what I saw, and there's nothing in life that I don't care if he killed somebody in cold blood. He was not acting in a manner where he deserved to die at that moment. He was no threat to society. You could have taken him into custody without killing him. Newsflash to anybody out there that's listening: a chokehold or a knee on even a big black guy, after about 4 minutes, they're gonna die. So let's take that move out of our arsenal.
It's not in their arsenal. It's in Derek Chauvin's article. But that's it, Jimmy.
So now, yeah, we up against the wall. I know you can go all day. We get you crunk, Judge Joe, and I want to remind you guys coming up shortly. You remember over the weekend, another thing to add on to what the topic that was just on the table was over the weekend. Well, be going into the weekend. You guys may have noticed that another thing they did was they went and released the results of the autopsy, and with their claim, with their people. Well, the family of Mr. Floyd has retained possession of the body, which is being shipped to Houston, has been shipped to Houston. And a funeral, and check your local listings because they're going to do a march downtown Houston, I think either Tuesday or Thursday. But my point is, the results of the family's independent autopsy will be released within the next hour. So I want to share that with you guys. If you did not know, they're planning to release those results. And what would happen, Judge Joe, if that release is a contradiction of what we had been told by the Minneapolis judicial system?
No, it will be a contradiction, because that person that performed that autopsy has worked for years with that police department, right? So are you really going to do an autopsy that is truthful, knowing that once this is over with, you're still going to have to work with these same people? You can't convince me for everything in the world that Floyd was going to die in the next 8 minutes, and they just so happen to lean on his neck. That Mr. Floyd was going to die in the next 8 minutes. So they killed him. We saw it on tape. I mean, the man urinated on himself, man. I mean,
Yeah.
All four of those guys need to go to jail and do time, a lot of time. They need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So does everybody involved in the murder of the young man that got shot in the middle of the street. And that's, it's crazy, man. That, you almost lose count of the names because there's so many of us that have died the same way. And it's just tragic, man. And I'm tired and I'm angry. I hadn't said a word on Facebook, man. I've been quiet as a church mouse because I've been angry, man. I've been mad. And I know what I want to say would get me in a lot of trouble. What I want to do would get me in even more trouble. And you just have to pray and find a way to get through this, to get to the other side so that we can truly make a change. Hopefully it's better for our kids.
Yeah, indeed, man. We definitely appreciate it, Judge Joe, man.
Thank you, big fella. I'm going to call you after the show too, Joe. But thank you so much, man, because I want to know how long Alan going to be up there. Might take a ride up there. So we'll talk about it after the show. But I appreciate you so much.
Man. Love you guys, man. Y'all are kings, brothers. Stand strong. And if we got to go to war, that's just what it is.
All right, Judge.
Thanks. Appreciate that, man.
Right,
great combo.
Right,
great combo with Judge Joe Stevens,
Amazing.
guys. And you guys can see. And what are we trying to do, basically? We're just trying to get some dialogue to get understanding. And understand, this is a judge. If you have questions, had questions, that means you kept them. You guys have to help to make the Chop Shop greater. Present your questions when you have people that are in legal positions of such that you may have. That way it can help you to understand, because as he mentioned, there's so much misinformation out there. You don't have to, you need to be, you're at a point where you need to be willing to go and form your own decisions based on your own research, just on your own. Everybody's not going to think the same. Everybody's not going to act the same. Everybody's not going to want to fight when you're ready to fight. Some people going to say, man, I ain't going to go out there and mess with them. People got guns over there.
Yeah.
Well, people got rocks over there.
Guess what? Go find somebody who think like you, who want to go to war with you. That's all you got to do. And Jimmy, and I advise before you go to the election this year, because of they won't let you elect by down ballot.
But they stopped that last year.
Yeah,
I mean, last election, they stopped it.
Do a little research before and go in there with your information. Just go in there with who you're going to vote for. It's going to be in the newspaper. You can go in there, pull your little notes out, and you know who you're going to vote for. So that's what I did the last time, because I didn't know some of them people. But I made sure I did that. Just something, just be prepared and find out. Because let me tell you something, this election, and I know, we got some people, man, no. That Supreme Court seat is going to affect our grandkids and our grandkids' grandkids. Beta Ginsburg is getting old. She's going to retire. So guess what, man? We got to make that one happen. So, Jimmy, let's get out of here, man, because let's yabba do this thing. Go and finish.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about one of the comments from Pete earlier, and he was mentioning about how one of the groups of people that were white that got galvanized by the current president, and that is, it's an old quote that reminded me of Alan. It says, the slowest horse is presumed to be faster than the fastest donkey. And that was, and think about that and apply that to the economic chain of those. The bottom of the whites were motivated and led to believe and reminded by him that they were better than the fastest donkey, which, and this reminded me that. So on tomorrow, guys, we'll be back at it on the Chop Shop, and you guys just keep on pushing.
Yeah, share this show, Jimmy. They need to share this one. Yeah,
you definitely need to share. If you hadn't done so, share the show to your timelines, to your group, your groups. Also, you may share the Chop Shop with your friends. You go over to YouTube. If you guys are watching right now, give us a thumbs up. And also make sure, if you haven't been to the YouTube page, go there and subscribe.
Yes.
It only takes about 20 seconds, and it helps to increase our digital platform. We have so many other things that we left on the table.
No, it's all good. Don't forget about the starting five: Rick Brown, Rod Wells, Melvin Dews, Anisha Ville, and Jack Reese. Jimmy, I didn't want to get off without talking about my starting five. You know how I feel about them.
And shout out and thanks a bunch to you guys. And of course, we'll be right back at it in 22 hours on the Chop Shop. But it is time to slide on down Dino's back and yabba dabba do this thing on the Chop Shop. There's no urban sports talk show like this one. None that will engage and embrace these topics of such fashion. As you see, uninterrupted, the Chop Shop. You guys make sure you spread the word about this, because guess what? We're going to keep pushing. Just need you guys to keep it on. We'll be right there for you guys on tomorrow. Hey, on behalf of Robert Hatter, Jim Hicks, it's time for me to go and do it, baby. I just slid down Dino 2-3 times. I'm gone. Chop Shop.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter, you are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk,